This might be a quick one because I want to go home and have something to eat. All I've had is oats and an apple. But it's something that I really do want to talk about because I'm getting signs that this is something that I really need to work through. So ever since maybe about 13 or so, I started listening to like grime music, and then that eventually transitioned to grime and drill, and then eventually predominantly drill music. Before 13 though, I was listening more so just a lot of Vanoss, back when they were making videos, and back when Vanoss and the group were making many videos, and they were getting so many views, like tens of millions of views, like anywhere from 10 to 30 million views, just consistently, which was wow. Right, I'll position myself here so I can actually be seen and I don't look like a shadow. But yeah, the reason why I started listening to it was because I wanted to be cool. That was the wording. That was what I basically said, almost verbatim. I wanted to be cool. But then, little did I know at that age, that sort of music was destructive. Not eating healthily. It just represents that sort of music, both grime and drill music, to me, because of all of the violent lyrics that come with it. Like, I'm gonna shank you, I'm gonna shoot you, and that. It just represents destruction. Just killing themselves. Both literally and with the food that they eat. Just leading themselves up to a path of self-destruction. I didn't think of grime music and drill music in this way back then though, but I now do. And even though that's the case, even though I think this way, I still listen to drill music and a couple of tracks in particular because I really like the melodies. I've conditioned myself to like those sorts of melodies. Some of them I really like. I'm not going to give specific examples though, even though I could, because people don't need to go through what I've gone through. I'm not going to give people like destructive music to listen to so that they go through what I've gone through, and that people don't need to. I don't condone that way of life, so I'm not going to say what sorts of tracks in particular that I listen to make that way of life even more known in that way, where they glorify murder and that. There's no need. I'm not giving specific tracks in which they do that and almost promoting it. Nope. I'm not indirectly promoting music tracks that glorify murder and self-destruction, like smoking weed and drinking a whole load of alcohol. No. It all starts off slow though. That's what I think. It all starts off slow, way before they make music. Being uneducated with health and just nutrition and hydration, drinking juice, all of that unhealthy juice, drinking from those plastics, which goodness knows what's in them and the effects that it has on our body, eating all that fucking fried chicken and that. Please stop, black people, stop eating that stuff. And every race in general, but I know I was eating a lot of fried chicken when I was younger, a lot of it. It's not healthy. Forget it. I was going to say it's not needed, but it's not healthy. It's not healthy. It's not worth it. There's a much better way. For example, I'm working towards becoming predominantly pescatarian, and it seems like naturally it's starting to work because I only bought fish the last time I went shopping. In terms of the ingredients I got that are high in protein, I only really bought fish, tuna and salmon. Salmon fillets are kind of small though, kind of small. That's the Aldi, they're kind of small, but I think I can go elsewhere. There are other shops. But anyway, yeah, there's a much healthier way of life out there that these little kids, these uneducated kids don't know of. But because they don't know of it and they don't know and they wouldn't, even if they did know of it, they wouldn't make the conscious decision to go and change, because they probably wouldn't see the need to change, because they see their mum and dad eating in that unhealthy way. They probably would just stay that eating that unhealthy way anyway, which is a shame, really. And then because the meals are low protein, you could do things, the very self-destructive things that you probably otherwise wouldn't have done. There's so much to it that even I don't know about, but I know that I don't want to be listening to that music anymore. And I'm getting signs that I want to work on it, like listening to that music first of all, even though I know, rationally speaking, I don't want to do that. And throwing up signs in particular, throwing up one set of signs in particular. I don't know why I do it, but I would, even though I know I'm not looking to go into that way of life. I would, as I listen to the music, because that would be what I'm digesting. That's how I process it, I think. If there's any explanation as to why I do that, it'd be because that's how I process it. That's how I process what I'm listening to. Doing what they're doing. And that genuinely could be how many other of the uneducated kids process it, and then they go out actually living that life, because the area that they're based in has gang violence in it, and it's easy to get into gangs. That makes a lot of sense. Not only that, but the role models are them, the drug dealers and the killers. And because people naturally want to be seen as valuable and loved, then they go that way. It'd be very easy to go that way. For the money, for the quick money, which their parents may not have. And their parents may be going through very rough times due to them being uneducated on the right stuff, such as nutrition and health, financial health, social health, and even spiritual health, if they're really into that. And then monkey see, monkey do for the child. Mum might not be able to pay the bills, but the child knows that they need cash now, otherwise they'll get evicted. So what do? Go and sell drugs. And then the cycle continues, going from selling drugs to be able to provide at an underdeveloped age, to then having to get a knife or a gun, and/or to be able to protect themselves. One thing leads to another. It's such a shame. But to me now, I've now made sense as to why I'd throw up that sign. I'm not going to say which one it is, but there's another reason as to why I would, which I'm not explaining. I really believe that now thinking about it, that's how I process it. That's how I process the music that I'm listening to. It's not something to be ashamed. I know damn well I'm not looking to go into that life. I never have and never will, even though I did that. When I just as I'd be listening to it, that is. I didn't do it publicly, but just as I'd be listening to it at home on my bed, for example, then I would. That's why I'd do it. But I wouldn't go out or even do it while speaking to friends or anything like that. No, just as I'd be listening to it, because it seems like after thinking about it now, that's how I process it. But I haven't given myself an alternative, just like how all of these deprived, malnourished, uneducated kids might not have. They might not know that there's a healthier alternative. They might not know that music is a part of the grooming process. Their want to be loved by both guys and the girls, being taken advantage of in the form of creating music, this self-destructive music. What a shame. What a shame. Because it's a shame to me, because people really can live a much healthier life out there. Like, it's all around them. Nature. It literally is all around me right now. And people, if they just gave themselves the time, they could live in a much healthier way as well, by just laying down on the grass, touching some leaves, actually taking some time to enjoy life for what it is, rather than chasing money, wanting it quick now, then leads to drug dealing, which then leads to having to protect yourself. But in reality, you don't have to go that way. You don't. There is another way, and that's the slow lane, not the fast lane. It seems like the incentives is not only money, not only to be seen as sexually attractive, but also because of the material possessions that can come with being in the fast lane, which you could get from the slow lane after enough time. But I'm referring more specifically to fancy looking cars like Range Rovers or Lamborghinis or anything like that. So part of the incentive to want to live that way of life, because you can drive those sorts of cars. They're just all small bits and pieces, but when they're brought together, that is one major recipe for disaster. The fact that there's gang affiliated crime in the area, and these people create music and are seen as role models. That would be a part of it. The incentives that are involved, the quick money, the reputation, being seen as feared by other guys who would be enemies, being seemingly loved by females. That's another incentive. All of it, just small pieces, they all add up, they all accumulate to make one massive major recipe for disaster. But they genuinely might not see an alternative. I haven't given myself another music alternative. I can listen to much less aggressive music, like salsa music, for example, or just, actually, I've come up with an idea. Go out of my way to not listen to one type of music in particular, but to explore. I know I listen to house as a replacement rather than grime and drill music, but I can go out of my way to explore many different kinds of music. And if there are some that I don't like for the message, because of the message that they convey in the music videos, or because I simply just don't understand it, and I don't like the melody either, then I can stop listening to that sort of music. But I think that would be the way, rather than listening to people talk about, I'm going to shank you, I'm going to shoot you, which I did recently. Yesterday even, maybe, I think 2 days ago maybe. I don't really remember. But yeah, there is another way. There absolutely is another way. Eating healthier, drinking more water, allowing myself to listen to to all sorts of music that is out there. I could literally go out of my way to listen to different types of music, a whole load of mixes, and then see what I do and don't like. And then from there, I'd naturally just stop listening to that, all of those homicidal thoughts, and stop throwing up the signs whilst I'm listening to the sort of music that I'd be listening to, that sort of drill music now predominantly, because I transitioned from grime to drill music over the years, because grime's now outdated. It's the same sort of stuff though. To me, I've started thinking of grime as shit, and then drill is shit, but with just deodorant sprayed over it. Try and make it seem fancy with all these visuals, all these fancy cars, the extremely high quality cameras and that. But if there weren't people doing these things, then there'd be many people out of employment. There'd be a lot less of a need for police officers if people's mind states overall, just in the world in general, if people's mind states were a lot healthier than they currently are overall, then there'd be less of a need for police, because people are just naturally healthy, which would mean people would be left out of work. Not only that, but all of the video producers, they may get left out of work. All of the people that are living more healthily, they may get left out of work due to making the transition from going to the fast lane to the slow lane and not setting themselves up to live an amazing life in the slow lane beforehand. And that might be very discomforting. So yeah, this way of life that people present on there will probably always carry on, but I know that there's another way at least, and if one more person knows, then that's great. Slowly but surely, more people can realize that you don't have to live that way. You don't have to eat unhealthily. You really don't. You don't have to drink that juice. That juice is not healthy for you, especially with all of the plastic that is being drunk out of. You don't know what that plastic's doing to you, man. And the juice itself, no, that stuff is not natural. That Lucozade, that is not natural at all. How about some water for once? Instead of your piss looking dark orange. Like your piss, the colours of your piss and shit, they're telling you that you're in a state. That your piss is dark orange and your shit's light brown because you've been eating so many processed foods. But because you're not educated on nutrition, you don't know any better. You don't know that ideally you should be eating more healthily and what that looks like when you go to the toilet, and the fact that you can use the colours of your piss and shit to help you out. If you've been drinking too little, of course your piss is going to look more dark yellow, and you can use that to help you out. That's there to help. It's there to help. People might not think it is, and people might think that what I've said is strange, but I'm using it to help me. It's one of the ways I'm using to listen to my body. Pardon me. And make sure that I'm staying healthy. Don't think there's really much else to say. My solution to this is to do what I basically told myself to do in yesterday's review. Adapt. Give myself the freedom that I always had, and to listen to as many different types of music that I want. Whatever's out there. YouTube's an ocean. There's going to be infinite, a whole load of music out there. Too much music to be able to listen to in one lifetime. Some will be healthy, some will be unhealthy, and some will be in between. But I now know, with this a lot less innocent mind, what is and isn't healthy for me. I have a much clearer idea after listening to that unhealthy grime and drill music for so long. I now have a very clear idea of what is and isn't healthy. I'll leave it at that though, because the mind's gone quiet. There isn't really much else for me to say. I think if I feel the need to talk about it more, with a more educated mind than I have at the moment, then I will. But for now, I'll leave it at that, because I don't have anything else to say at this level of education that I have on the matter. I haven't really gone out of my way to look at crime rates. I haven't gone out of my way to look at why that life is encouraged, why it has a positive feedback loop by saying, oh, he's hard, he's cold. But that exact way of life is what could turn you insane. Maybe it's because they are taught or given, or at least given the tools to be able to be self-reflective and to think, maybe this way of life that I'm about to go down is unhealthy. Some people may actually think that they don't have a choice. I remember one interview, someone said, once you get into the gang, you can't get out. So people will believe, there are people there that believe that they can't, there's nothing that they can do. And as one of the intros to one of these music videos said, I have nothing to lose. And that guy that I'm referring to in particular, it sounded like he went through a lot. And it sounded like he did have some hope, but just went further and further down an unhealthy route in the fast lane. Genuinely, because there may not have been anyone there, a mentally and physically healthy mental figure to help him out, a healthy father figure or dad to help him out even, sorry. Some of them, quite a lot of them, they don't have dads. They don't have that anchor. So they'd have the power of a man, but the feistiness of an emotional woman. That is a recipe for the disaster. That could end up in knife wounds and gunshot wounds, seriously. It's a shame in that, but that's the reality of things. However, things can change if they want to, they'll go out their way to change. Instead of the parents just constantly trying to tell them what to do, instead of letting the children come to their own decisions and think for themselves. I know to do that. I know to follow my own path. I'll create a much healthier path for myself than my parents ever could have made for me. Following my parents meant that I was going down a route that I did not want to go down due to going to uni. My mental health was going through the gutter. I asked for a gap year, they said no. But then when I said that, they made it seem like I couldn't go for a gap year. They said, no, you made that decision to not take a gap year. Makes me want to say, fuck you. That was the route that they were taking me down, and it was a route that I obviously didn't want to take. But then again, I do have to reflect on what I've just said and understand that even I am not perfect. That's genuinely could have been the way that my mum and dad's generation have been conditioned to want to go and get. Uni is the way, when in reality it isn't necessarily. But that's potentially what their generation may think. That they've been conditioned to believe that is education. Going to university and staying in school, when in reality is schooling. Not necessarily education. Education means you're learning, but you don't have to be in school to learn, so it's schooling. Let's call it for what it is. However, it seems like my mum and dad don't understand the difference between the two. They don't understand that just because you're going to school doesn't necessarily mean you're learning. And therefore, just because you're going to school doesn't necessarily mean you're becoming educated. People can go through the GCSE process and sound fucking stupid when they come out because they didn't actually learn anything. They didn't learn anything that was useful and that they could actually use in their lives. And that genuinely could be a part of why those people go down the gang life, because they're not learning anything useful in school. Anything that they actually want to learn about. And it's made to seem that you have to revise, you have to learn for exams rather than for your life. Fucking shame, really. Real big shame that, but it's a reality nowadays. But things don't have to be that way. Things aren't necessarily that way. If we just allow ourselves to actually take a look at life for what it is, allow ourselves to be around nature, surround ourselves around nature, lie down on the grass for once, and allow ourselves to relax, then slowly but surely, with all of the healthier habits we built that our parents didn't teach us and didn't necessarily know about, we can become who we want to become rather than what our parents want us to become. Our parents don't know everything, just like how we don't know everything. But I really believe, I'm 100% certain that I know a lot more that's useful to life than my parents do. Because I don't believe, simply because I don't believe that just because you're going to school doesn't necessarily mean you're being educated. Just off that one way of thinking alone, I really believe I know more that's actually useful in this life than my parents do. I'm not a know-it-all, and I absolutely will not go out of my way to believe that I know everything. Nor do I believe I'm necessarily smart, but I know I have it together, and I know I'm at least onto something. I'm at least onto something. I know that. Otherwise, my mental health wouldn't be this solid. I wouldn't have the specific aims that I have now with my physical health. My nutrition wouldn't be this solid. I wouldn't be taking care of myself as much as I would be if I didn't have it together, at least somewhat. But I think I'm done. I'll leave it at that for now. If I have, when my mind is more educated on the matter, and when I want to make a video, I will, another video on the matter, I will, but I'll leave it at that for now. Bye. Yeah, I'll see you a lot later. I feel a lot more happy about this. If there's one piece of advice I give myself after ending this video, it'd be allow myself to listen to all kinds of music, but just not grime or drill music anymore. All kinds of music. And more ideally, music that doesn't have aggressive kicks in it like how grime and drill does. People that look like they have it together, you know. But I think I'll end it at that. Yeah, I'm done. See you a lot later in the next one. Peace. Some of the guys in the videos I've noticed hold their shoulders really low, and I just think poor posture, poor nutrition, poor hydration, and just poor life in general, because they don't really want to go out of their way to know better. They don't. It really is as simple as that. It's a mess, but it doesn't have to be. It really doesn't have to be. If you want to go out of your way to live your life in a more healthy way, you absolutely can. That way of life, that unhealthy way of life, that lack of regard for how you got the money, that lack of regard for how you got those material possessions, the car, the house maybe, the lack of regard for the sort of females that you'd attract whilst being in the street life. It's the best. It's the best thing. But things don't have to be that way though. They don't have to. But yeah, that's all I've got to say. There's some extra thoughts I had in my mind that I just really wanted to release. But yeah, I'm gone. Bye.